Om Gyantimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Maum Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutalai Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pachadine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Paschyatyade Satarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhascha Kripa Sindhupevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is known as Mano Mahavadanaya. He is considered, out of all of the manifestations and incarnations of the Supreme Lord, he is the most merciful. And in this age of Kali, he has come to deliver that mercy in the most profuse way. In other words, he hasn't restricted his mercy to any particular group or any category. Anyone and everyone is open to receive his mercy. But Mahaprabhu exhibits its mercy by chasing after the conditioned souls and giving him his mercy. And chasing after him is the principle of preaching. So we go out to try to spread the mercy of Lord Chaitanya in the form of this Harinam Sankirtan movement to the fallen conditioned souls and teach them who they are and what is their relationship with the Supreme Lord. And when we go to different groups and different societies, different countries, different classifications of people, and we speak in various topics meant to inspire people to and elevate them in transcendental knowledge so they will understand who they are and what is the goal of life. So one area of the world that we go into is those who are considered to be most pavana or most fallen. And that is, from the material point of perspective, people who are outcasts even by the material society. They are known as prisoners, criminals, persona non grata, various types of rejects of society. And many of these people inhabit the prisons around the world because of their crimes, because of their behaviors. So we don't want to, because Lord Chaitanya is very merciful, he wants to reach anyone and everyone. And because his mercy he is known as Patita Pavana Avatar, he is the most merciful. He looks to go to the most fallen of all the persons in order to give his mercy. And of course that was illustrated exemplary by Lord Nityananda's attempt to bring two very sinful persons known as Jagai and Madai to Krishna consciousness by begging them, who are drunkards and various types of woman hunters and criminals in all respects, to take up the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And by the mercy of Lord Nityananda and by the support of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, these two dacoits became actually fixed up devotees. In other words, they started to practice spiritual life in an exemplary way. So the world is full of Jagais and Madais. Some of them are outside of the prisons and many of them are inside the prisons. So for the ones that are inside the prisons, we try to make an effort to reach them. Srila Prabhupada actually set the standard, or you might say blazed the trail, for prison preaching in 1962. Prabhupada went to Tihar jail in Delhi and was able to speak to a group of inmates there, along with the jailer, Mr. Puri, about the importance of elevating people to Krishna consciousness. And he said these people here are prime candidates for Lord Chaitanya's mercy, because they're not any longer involved with trying to build their materialistic life. So Prabhupada saw the benefit of this type of preaching, and of course, in the mood of Lord Chaitanya, he extended that compassion to these persons by that visit. And that set the stage for later for devotees in ISKCON to follow in his footsteps. So in the late 80s and early 90s, a very regular movement began to reach people inside of prisons. And the method was to write letters and see if we could contact people who had some interest in spiritual life. That wasn't so successful, and we got very little response. But then we found a way to get Srila Prabhupada's books into the prisons through the library of the prison, as one of the these are ancient religious books coming from the area of India, and it would be a nice addition to any library. So we were able to convince librarians to take sets of Srila Prabhupada's books. And that allowed for the access of Prabhupada's books to be there for the inmates. And gradually, many of them start reading the books and also became interested in the philosophy, which later led to them wanting to learn more. And therefore, we also set up contacts within the books where they could write to the temples and learn more and get more information. So from that very meager start, gradually it started to spread. But we have to understand that in all our efforts, the most effective way was Srila Prabhupada's books. And that led to some of us connecting with these inmates on a personal basis. And the inmates would also help to arrange programs inside the prison, claiming that this was their religion. And according to the law, no religion can be denied by any institution. So we had that in, and gradually devotees start going in and doing programs in prisons. Letter writing continued, and Prabhupada's books became the foundation for expanding the movement inside. And now all over the world, in many countries, prison preaching is going on regularly. And we try to make contacts with inmates in the prisons through these prison programs and get books into the libraries, along with going into the prisons and doing programs, which has been quite effective. In 2019, in early 2020, just before the coronavirus lockdown, we were having a tremendous amount of success in prisons in the United Kingdom, all around the London area and north also throughout the United Kingdom. We were doing regular programs, maybe 2 and 3 times a week, going into prisons. But the lockdown came, the coronavirus restricted this type of activity, so we had to stop for a while. But up until then, and even now we're starting to begin again, we've always had success with reaching people with Prabhupada's books. And the administrators, the librarians, and others in different places would also take interest into what we were doing. They saw the value of giving this knowledge to the inmates. So many of them supported our programs by encouraging the inmates to come to our programs when we would hold in jail programs. And that built quite nicely. So this has been going on steadily around the world. In many countries, many devotees independently have decided to take up the prison project on their own. And of course, in America, we have one lady, her name is Bhakti Lata, she has made it her full-time service to write and to arrange for inmates to connect with devotees and write letters and develop some friendship through the writing program, which is the opportunity to reach them with the philosophy. And also she sends out large numbers of books every day to different places, sometimes to the librarians and sometimes directly to the inmates. So the program has had some success. It's a steady program, and we can't really say how many people in the jails are actually practicing, but we know the numbers are increasing regularly, and we can say there's at least 2,000 people or more in the United States who are chanting Hare Krishna and reading Prabhupada's books in jails. And a few of them actually came forward and took initiation. And now they have become, full-fledged initiated devotees. So there are many, what we say, amazing stories connected with this. And there are some jails that really support us, and others don't support us at all. And others are pretty much indifferent to us. But in any case, we are trying to reach as many inmates as we can. We find them that when we talk to them, they always have good questions to ask. Because of their situation of restriction, they have a chance to read and think about their life. And so we always get what we say important questions when we go into these jails. But our main business, and has always been, is to send Prabhupada's books in as much as we can. And there's preaching going on in Asia and Europe, UK, America, and other places around the world. So it's in line with Lord Chaitanya's mission of mercy to reach the most fallen conditioned souls with this. Because sometimes people criticize and say, well, why should we try to help such persons? They are criminals, therefore we should leave them to their punishment. But that is not our movement. Our movement is to give mercy to anyone and everyone who is willing to come forward and take responsibility to practice Krishna consciousness. So these are some points we can think about in terms of, and the future of our movement is developing in all areas of preaching, but especially prison preaching is going on. We have publicized 2 books. One is called Holy Jail, which is an overview of all of the activities of preaching in prisons, the programs that went on, testimonies, artwork, poetry, various types of writing expressions by the inmates, along with, many of Srila Prabhupada's statements supporting this whole project. And we did a second book called Forbidden Voices, which is a compilation of all the poetry, letters, artwork, and eulogies coming only from the inmates. It's a book that is focused completely on the inmates. And so those 2 books have been distributed throughout the prison world for the last 10 years, you might say.